Welcome back to So You Really Want to Learn Latin, and today we are going to be finishing book 2 of the course. So there's a huge amount of excitement about that, I'm sure. We've just got a couple of things to tell you, just to tidy things up before we move on to book 3, where things get really scary. Now we're going to start with a couple of concepts along the basic lines of here, there and everywhere. Now, Latin is very keen to distinguish between here, to here, from here, and there, to there, from there. We used to do this in English. We used to have these wonderful words: here, hither, hence, there, thither, thence, where, whither, whence. Ah, what wonderful words those were. Now, just in case you're not entirely sure what they all mean, if you're here, you're here, okay? If you're going to here, you are coming hither. If you're coming from here, you're going hence, okay? And the same applies for there, thither, thence. If you're there, you're there. If you're going to there, you're going thither. If you're coming from there, you're coming thence. And same again with where. Where are you? Don't know. Whither are you going? In other words, to where are you going? And whence cometh thou? Where do you come from? Where do you come from? Whence? Okay, so English, we used to make those little distinctions. Latin still does, and we're just going to quickly show you how it works in Latin. So, let's deal with here. Now, the Latin for here, as in here, is hic, rhyming with squeak. Okay, not to be confused with hic, hike, hock. Okay, different word. Hic means here. But if you want to go, or if you want to come, I should say, to here, okay, from over there you want to come here, the Latin for to here is huc. Okay, so if I were to say to you, come here, I would say veni huc. Okay, not veni hic, that wouldn't make any sense. Veni huc, come to here. Okay, and if you come from here to somewhere else, you would be coming hinc. Okay, hinc means from here or hence. So we have hic here, huc to here, and hinc from here. Okay, and the same applies to there. So illic, okay, again we've got that squeak noise. Illic means there, over there, illic. But if you want to go to there, it would be illuc. And if you want to come from there, it would be illink. Okay, so you've got illic there, over there, illic, illuc to there, and illink from there. Okay, so that's enough about that sort of thing. Two more things I want to tell you. First of all, nemo. Now, nemo means no one. Now, nemo is an irregular noun, okay, of a kind of indistinguishable declension, really. And it goes nemo, nemo, naminem, nullius, namini, nullo. Okay, so a bit weird. It's kind of got a bit of that ilud nonsense going on, the ilius, ilielo sort of stuff. But it starts off looking pretty much like a third declension noun. Nemo, nemo, naminem. And then nullius that's from nullus. Namini, looking more regularly third declension, but back to nullo. Okay, so it's just weird. It's a nice one to learn. It's only got a singular, no one. And, you know, you might come across it, you might not. Odysseus, if you remember when he had trouble with the Cyclops, and he tricked the Cyclops by saying that his name was No Man. When Polyphemus the Cyclops, he'd had a stake put in his eye by Odysseus, and the other Cyclopses came to help him, and they said, "Who's hurting you, Polyphemus?" And he said, "No one is hurting me." So if he'd been speaking in Latin at the time, he would have said, "Nemo." Okay, no one is hurting me. Okay, but that's enough about that. Now, the other thing I just wanted to quickly say is there's a lovely little phrase, quam celerime. Now, it means as quickly as possible. Quam celerime. So it's just quam plus the superlative adverb, in this case of celer. So that means as quickly as possible. But you could also say as bravely as possible by going quam fortissime, or as slowly as possible, quam lentissime. Okay, so quam plus a superlative adverb means as whatever the adverb is as possible. Okay, so that's all we're going to handle in Book 2 now, in terms of our grammar, our syntax, our nouns, regular and irregular tenses. We've done loads and loads of them. So we'll finish off by having a go at a slab of Latin. I love slabs of Latin just to see how far we've come. And we're going to look at exercise 10.7 in the book, which is the end of the First Punic War. Okay, so we'll just whiz through this, and I think as we go through it, you'll see quite how far you've come from the days when we were just doing sentences with, the farmer loves the girl and the girl sees the farmer and that sort of thing. If you look at what you're coping with now, I think you should give yourself a huge pat on the back. Okay? Okay, here we go. So we've got postquam regulus Carthaginem rediit, poini bellum cum Romanis iterum gerebant. Okay, so we begin with a nice little temporal clause, postquam. Now you remember postquam plus the perfect tense in Latin is translated in English by after with a pluperfect. So, after regulus, rediit, there's our perfect tense, but we're going to translate it as a pluperfect. After Regulus had returned Carthaginem to Carthage. Notice that is an accusative case without a preposition because of our little rule, towns, small islands, domus and roofs do not use prepositions. Okay, after Regulus had returned to Carthage, Poini, now this is our new subject, the Poini are the Carthaginians, Poini bellum cum Romanis iterum gerebant. The Carthaginians, gerebant, were waging bellum, war, cum Romanis, with the Romans, iterum, again. Okay? The Carthaginians were waging war with the Romans again. Imperatorem nomine Hamilcarem in Siciliam miserunt. Okay? Now, imperatorem, we see it's an accusative, so we never, never, never translate an accusative case before we have translated the verb. So, we're getting pretty good at this. We're flying down to look for our verb. We jump over some little comma-y bits. The nomine Hamilcarem, by name Hamilcar, but again, that's accusative. We don't want that. So we're going down to miserunt. They sent. Okay, they, or a noun in the nominative plural, and on our way down the sentence we found there was no nominative plural. So, they sent imperatorem, a general, comma, nomine Hamilcarem, named Hamilcar, in Siciliam, into Sicily. Okay, just notice that when you're translating from Latin into English and you've got a name, in this case Hamilcarem, in Latin he's in the accusative case, but when you translate him back into English, you've got to get him back into the nominative. because his name isn't Hamilcar M, his name is Hamilcar. Okay. Ille autem illinc exercitum in Italiam duxit. Right. Ille autem. Now remember, autem is this sort of joining word. It doesn't really necessarily mean anything at all. It kind of means moreover, or occasionally, however, but more often than not, in English, it doesn't mean anything at all. So, ille, he. Now this is he, the person we've just been talking about, which was Hamilcar. We've picked him up and we've given him this pronoun, ille. He, down to the verb, duxit, led, exercitum, an army. Now, illinc, from there. Okay? Illinc, from there, in Siciliam, into Sicily. Okay? So he, brackets, Hamilcar. You could even translate it as Hamilcar if you wanted to make it absolutely clear who you meant by he. So he led an army from there, illinc, in Italiam, into Italy. Okay? So there's a good use of illinc, from there. Not just there or to there, but from there, illinc. Victorias propemontes herictem et ericem Hamilcar mox peperit. Okay, again we've got a sentence beginning with an accusative. We never translate accusatives before we've translated the verb. So, over we go looking for our main verb and our subject. So, Victorias proper, there's a preposition governing the accusative. So again, you're going to get a word after that which is never going to be your subject because it's part of that prepositional phrase. So, jumpity, jumpity, jump, herictem, et hericem. At long last, we get a word that looks nice and nominative, Hamilcar, mox peperit. So, peperit, remember that's from pario. Pario, parry, peppery, partum, well, it means lots of things, but in particular, used with victorias, it means to report a victory or to win a victory. So, mox peperit, he soon won victories. Okay, now who did? Who did? Hamilcar did. Hamilcar soon won victories. Back we come. Propemontes, near the mountains. And we've got herictem et ericem. That's Mount Hercte and Mount Eryx. If you've seen my video on Roman history recently, you'll have learned all about the Punic War and these victories at Mount Hercte and Mount Eryx. So there we go. Okay, on we go. Romani igitur copias trans insulam duxerunt et hostes aggressi sunt. Okay. Romani igitur, the Romans, therefore, duxerunt. Now you've got a couple of verbs, but you're going to take the first one first, duxerunt, and then after it you've got an et. So that's kind of telling you there's another clause coming after the duxerunt one. So we'll just go up to duxerunt. The Romans igitur, therefore, duxerunt, led, copias, their forces. Notice how I put in a word like there. It's not there in the Latin, but it's sort of implied. You could just say the forces, or just forces. The Romans led forces, but no, the Romans led their forces transinsulam, across the island. Okay, and then we're going to carry on. Et hostes aggressi sunt. Right, now, and aggressi sunt, that's third person plural of aggredior. Okay, deponent verb, we've covered deponent verbs now. So aggredior, aggredi, aggressus sum means to attack. Remember we've had progredior, ingredior, agredior, transgredior, regredior. Now we've got aggredior, to go towards, but it means to attack. So aggressi sunt, and hostes is the enemy. Now, strictly speaking, hostes could be nominative vocative or accusative plural. And grammatically, you can't tell which. So it could have meant the Romans therefore led their forces across the island and the enemy attacked. But that, that is not the way Latin works really. The subject of the first clause was Romani, and unless there is a really good reason for changing the subject, you should assume that the subject of that first clause is also the subject of the second one. Okay, so we can, from sort of that basic rule, assume that the subject of aggressi sunt is the same as the subject of dux erunt, in other words, the Romans. And hostes, which could have been subject or object, is therefore much, much more likely to be the object. And they attacked the enemy. If it were the enemy attacked, you would expect, at the very least, to say something like, and the enemy attacked them, to make it, obvious that there's been a change in subject. Or you would have a kind of a big, strong however word, or, unfortunately, or something to indicate that there'd been a change in subject. Okay, on we go. Poini paucissimos milites habebant, sed diu Romanorum impetus sustinere poterant. Well, it just shows how much we've done here. Okay, so we've got poini paucissimos milites habebant. Okay, habebant, verb, third person plural. Subject will be a noun in the nominative plural, and we've got poini. Okay, so the Carthaginians, habebant, had paucissimos milites. Okay, you see issimos, and you're thinking, oh, that's a superlative. So paucissimos milites means very few soldiers. From paucus, and it's the superlative for paucus. Paucissimus, and that's now agreeing with milites in the accusative masculine plural. Okay, so the Carthaginians had very few soldiers. Said, but diu, for a long time, Romanorum impetus sustinere poterant. Okay, go to the verb. They were able, now you're expecting after that an infinitive, they were able to do something, and you've got sustinere, to sustain or to withstand. So, but for a long time, they were able to withstand impetus. Okay, now impetus is an attack or a charge. It's a fourth declension noun like gradus. Remember our old friend in the plural, gradus, 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 graduum, gradibus, gradibus. Okay, so don't be confused. It looks like a nominative masculine singular second declension noun, but it very much is not. It's impetus, accusative plural. But for a long time, they were able to withstand the attacks, Romanorum, of the Romans. Okay, tandem, tamen, Romani classem paraverunt, et poinos, qui multas naves domum iam miserant, proped drepana superaverunt. Wow, nice long sentence here. So let's break it down. What have we got? We have tandem tamen. Great words, don't confuse them. Tandem at last, tamen however. So, at last, however, Romani, now we're going to assume that's our subject. I've got one eye looking for a third person plural verb. Romani classem paraverunt, there it is. So, the Romans prepared classem a fleet, accusative singular of classis. So at last, however, the Romans prepared a fleet et poinos, and no, just don't do it. So many of my pupils would say, and the Carthaginians, but that's in the accusative. So hold back until we've found the main verb and the subject who are going to be doing something to these poinos. Okay, so, and hop over poinos, and then you've got a relative clause, qui multas naves domum iam miserent. And if you remember, when do we translate a relative clause? We translate a relative clause immediately after we have translated the antecedent. Remember that rule? So, qui multas naves and so on is referring back to poinos, the antecedent, but we haven't translated poinos yet, so we're not going to translate the relative clause. So you've got to jump all the way down over the top of that relative clause and find the main verb. And what we have is superaverunt propedrapana. So, superaverunt, and they overcame. Now we can have our object, which was poinos, that word we avoided. So, and they overcame the Carthaginians, and now that we've done the Carthaginians, we can do the relative clause. So, they overcame the Carthaginians, qui, who, multas naves domum iam miserant, who, miserant, had sent, iam, already, who had already sent, multas naves domum, many ships home. Okay, so the Carthaginians, who had already sent many ships home, prope drepana, near drepana. Okay, quite a sentence to cope with. Just shows you how much we've done in this course. You know, we're coping with all sorts of things there. Okay, last couple of sentences. Poini victi sunt, et parcem petiverunt. Okay, nice and easy. The Carthaginians, victi sunt, were conquered. Et parcem petiverunt, and they sought peace. E Sicilia discesserunt, nec post hoc proelium regressi sunt. Okay, so E Sicilia discesserunt, they departed out of Sicily, or they departed from Sicily. Nec, now nec means and not, or nor. So, nec post hoc proelium, and, skip nec for now, nec post hoc proelium, after this battle, regressi sunt, they came back, regredio, to come back. So, they departed from Sicily, and after this battle, they did not come back. Okay? Just remember, you know, I have so many wonderful little rules, but in Latin you should not really ever say et non. Okay, that's really bad form. So instead of et non, we tend to say nec tamen, meaning and not, however. And here you don't really need the tamen, it's just nec and not. Okay, but not, do not say et non. So, they departed out of Sicily, and after this battle, they did not come back. Okay, right. That's enough for book 2. I hope to see you all moving on swiftly to book 3 in the course. Gets even harder. But until then, keep up the work. Plenty of videos to go back and check that you've got all the details. We've got a playlist for book 1. We've got a playlist for book 2. We've got a playlist for the Roman history that accompanies this course. So there's plenty to keep you busy. And I hope to see you back here soon on this channel very soon.